Thank you for coming back to Polka Dot Mailbox, and if you're new, welcome. Today I'm showing you tags done 3 ways. The first way is vintage children's books. The second way is with a magazine. The third way is with scrapbook paper. And truthfully, I did use scrapbook paper as a base for all of the cards. You could use a cardstock as well, and just let the absolute star of the show be the whatever medium it is that you're choosing. So I'll just show you an example here. Here we have a children's story with a beautiful image that I can easily make into a wonderful tag. And I will show you the set of dies that I used. Now, using dies is really not necessary because you basically just need a rectangle and you could just cut off the 2 ends. But I had these dies already, so it definitely made it easier, and it allowed to have an insert as well to give a nice framed edge. Sometimes they have stitching, so you can get a lot of really pretty nesting dies, and these are just the ones that I used from We Are Memory Keepers. So the first set of dies I'm going to share with you the first set of tags are from the vintage children's books. So here we have the really cute image that I have cut out with a smaller die, and then I have cut out the background paper, like I said, with a scrapbook paper, but you could really just use a plain cardstock. I did ink the edges, and I added all kinds of embellishments. These were a great little find at the Superstore after Easter. A package of them went on sale for 54 cents, and I got 5 of them for 54 cents. So I used those as a topper here. You could use a bow. Here's a really good example of how you can just reuse old things. I recently bought a tablecloth that came wrapped in a package that had this beautiful ribbon around it, and I just reused that ribbon as a topper here. You can see I have stitched around the edge, and I have added some charms on a tab. I have decorated with some thickers, some embellishments, and it's turned out really quite cute. This one I used a mesh, and there's some embroidery thread, some wooden embellishments there, little pom-pom charms and beads. So that's the first set, and I'm really curious to hear from you which of the 3 are your favorites. Do you love the vintage look? Next up, we have the scrapbook paper. These are also a little vintagey. So the My Mind's Eye paper that was used for this collection definitely has a vintage touch. I should show you the backs as well. So on the back of these, you can really see the stitching. And one thing that I will mention to you is that when I did the stitching, I used a different layer in the bobbin as I did on the top thread. So you actually have a different color on each side. And that can be a really nice added touch. So we have C for celebrate, and we have here a really pretty organza with polka dots. Again, a wood piece, some gemstones, and topped off with that sort of twine. Here I've made a cluster with thread, a bow, a wood piece. Like, there's so many different layers. You'll notice that I have all kinds of different textures. These are some gorgeous wire wrapped beads that I've added on there. Those came from Angela in a Happy Mail swap. I really adore those. So that's the ones from the Hooray, My Mind's Eye scrapbook paper. And then the magazine. So Daphne's Diary is a wonderful magazine. They have really interesting paper, and part of the magazine for the first issue of 2024 had this amazing series of squares with all of the dates on them, like the months. I made tags here, and the focal point you can see are the tags. I've hidden the dates because I didn't want them to be date specific. Again, I've added some fun little embellishments to the side off the tab. I have stitched all the way around. You can see again the base stitch is a different color. I reused this slip hair tie packaging, this beautiful ribbon that came on a package. And then this is my second one that you can see. I'm going to walk you through making 2 of these as well so you can see. And if you're wondering, like, what might you use these for? So tags can be added to a gift. They can be like this one here, just tucked in to decorate the top of your journal. Like, let's look at this. Like, how cute is that? Decorating the top of your journal with all of that perfect match there. You can put them inside of your little junk journal. If you watched my previous video where I showed you how I made this little shaker pocket, this was from Daphne's Diaries as well. And then inside, this is the back paper from these cut-aparts. And I was lucky enough that I ordered right from Daphne's Diary, and they gifted me some extras, so I had some of the paper and I could still use the cut-aparts. Here's an example of a fun little pocket that I had made, and I'll show you even how you could easily slip one of these into the pocket as a part of your journaling junk journal, or not even the pocket, but you could actually even tuck that in. Because of the way that I made this one here, it could actually even be tucked in the side there, like so, like that. So that could be a way to add decoration into a variety of different tuck spots in your junk journal.
So now I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process of actually creating these tags so you can see how it's put together. I start off, once I've assembled all of the pieces, by inking the edges. I'm going to do that on this one in 2 different tones. So I'm going to start off with a light and then move into a darker shade to just add some depth and color. The little white pieces with the holes came from Heidi Swap. It was a series of laser cut papers that were beautiful, and I have hung on to them for a long time, and I finally decided that I need to use my supplies. So I have been putting more things to use these days, and I did go ahead and tear into them, and I love the texture that they add to this project. When I'm inking the edges on this paper, it is a little more delicate, so I do have to be more conscientious with using the ink on it because it doesn't have that same sort of thickness like this cardstock does, where you can push harder. This is the My Mind's Eye cardstock paper. The punches that I used in this tag series are the We Are Memory Keepers Circle Reinforcer often for binder rings, but I like it for the edge of tags. And I used the Stampin' Up! Tab punch, and that's what I dangle all of my charms off of. So I'm going to go ahead and do the stitching here. And when I do the stitching, I start with a straight edge or a straight line, and then I adjust the design and switch it over to do a zigzag, and I alternate back and forth between straight and zigzag, and it gives a really cute effect all the way around your project. Sometimes I stitch on the edge, specifically within that space, and then other times I like to overlap with the two different papers so that it helps to reinforce that tag and make it stronger. It holds down the edges. If I haven't glued all the way around the edge, I often will use the stitching to make sure that it stays firm together. But I love the way that stitching adds a beautiful texture to projects like nothing else does. Here I'm using a few little scraps that are left over from my ribbon. I always like to try to use up as much stuff as I can. And these little embellishments came from Edna in a gorgeous happy mail that we did for Valentine's Day, that wooden story, and then this beautiful swan. So I am getting those on my tags here, going in and adding a ribbon to the top. And this is the process that I've used for this one in particular, to just tie it to the edge. And then this is the We Are Memories Keeper Crocodile, and the eyelets that I use to reinforce that hole to be able to add my little charms off the side. I love these little pins that have some space to dangle that allow you to put a lot of pom-poms, beads, charms, and things on your dangle, and it hangs really well, as opposed to using a jump ring that doesn't have as much space to hang things from. These gemstones are from Rosie's Studios, and they are my absolute favorite. I often will use enamel dots as well. This is a Tim Holtz sticker book, and there's all sorts of beautiful phrases. I love the way that this typed font of black on white adds a beautiful look in combination with the wooden story.
And here is the finished product. So I have taken this little tab and added my beautiful dangle on the side here. I have attached a ribbon, added a saying that says, "Live, create, tell the story." I thought that was perfect. These are Tim Holtz words. I really love those word stickers. This was an embellishment sent to me in Happy Mail. And that is the finished product of this one. And then the other vintage one here, I have completed the entire vintage page. This is maybe one of my favorites. I've just added some twine on top. I always leave the stitching threads hanging off the edge. I like that look that it gives. That's one advantage of having the two different colors. And then you see all the same elements here. What seems ordinary is often the extraordinary, and that is how those two turned out. So I am curious to know, which are your favorites? Do you prefer the vintage children's book, the magazine pieces, or the scrapbook embellishments as the main focal point for each of the tags? I'm having a hard time deciding myself. Like, they all have value. I'm not a big fan of vintage things in general. I do like the scrapbook paper, but for me, I think that my favorite would have to be these Daphne's Diary tags here. I'm really curious to know which ones you think are your favorites. If you do create any of these kinds of tags, definitely comment below as well and let me know where I can find samples of your work, because I would love to see other creations from other people as well. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.